I'll call to order the Solano County Local Agency Formation Commission's meeting for December 8th, 2025. Before we do a salute to the flag, roll call, please.
Chair Vasquez,
Here.
Vice Chair Chopay, Commissioner Mashburn, Commissioner Byrd,
Here.
Commissioner Carley, Alternate Commissioner Hernandez,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Batchelor.
Here.
We have quorum. Thank you.
With that, please join me in a salute to our flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda?
Chair, we do have one item that we'd like to add.
All right.
We have a correspondence item from the public that we received after the agenda was published. It should be in front of you up on the dais, and there's copies in the back of the room.
With that, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. We don't need to do a roll call, do we? All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. No closed session today, so no report out. We're now to item 6, public comment. Do I have any public comment?
Comment card from Jim DeClo.
Close.
Yes.
Jim?
Thank you so much. I'm Jim DeClo. I live in Solano County, and I'm retiring from Solano College in May. I wanted to talk to you about the proposed annexation from the city of Sassoon, the Sassoon expansion plan, and I've been writing you about it. And basically, it's insane. It's crazy. It's silly. Let me make my case. So what you have is a proposal to make a city that's the size of Oakland, and we can use other. It's bigger than Honolulu, it's bigger than New Orleans, it's bigger than Wichita, Kansas, it's bigger than Aurora, Colorado. It's big, but the annexation would create a Sassoon city that is 4 square miles separated by 7 miles of undevelopable land because of Travis Air Force Base. And then a new lobe. I've never seen that anywhere in the world where you have a 2-lobed city that is not self-contained and it is there. Other parts, it's too loud, so everything above Flannery Road is too loud to build any schools. You have to have 70 schools currently proposed to be handled by the school district in Rio Vista, taking their school population from 2,000 to 65,000. All of those have to be fit in the southern end of this. They're proposing that it be self-contained, but my question is, what if it isn't? You have an Oakland that is going to channel through Highway 12 to Interstate 80. Now, most of you probably took Highway 12 to get here. Imagine Oakland-sized traffic, or Wichita-sized traffic, or Tulsa, Oklahoma-sized traffic, channeling through the Highway 12 with 7 stoplights and no proposal to expand that. They're going to take the rural route and double it to 6 lanes in each direction. It just doesn't make any sense. It's likely going to go through Sassoon City. They get paid $10 million if you approve it. But that ultimate decision is going to come to this body. And that is going to be made on some Monday morning. Let me make one final point, that what happens in these meetings is when that comes, this room is going to be packed. But what happens is your 3 minutes, oh, there's so many people, we're going to condense your 3 minutes down to 2 minutes. So the most important issues in Solano County give citizens the least amount of time to make public comments on it. I'm filing my comments for the notice of preparation. They're currently up to 100 pages. And I would like to talk about that when it comes up later on the agenda, how your notice of preparation prepared by the staff should point out that this project, the annexation
Jim.
proposal, rather than going through the county,
Jim, you're 3 minutes.
yep, rather than going through the county, violates all of your mandatory and discretionary standards.
Thank you. Any other public comment? With that, we'll move to item 7, public comment on consent. Do we have any cards? Do we have anybody wishing to speak on consent? Okay, with that, we'll take up consent items. Any speakers on the consent? Oh, we already asked that. Does any of the commissioners want to speak to any of the items on consent? If not, it's been moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Item 9, which is to conduct a public hearing. There are no public hearings today. We'll move to item 10, business items.
Thank you, Chair. We're pleased to present the Solano Irrigation District Public Review Draft. With us today is Gary Kraft from Milani and Associates and Principal of Kraft Consulting. Gary was the consultant that we hired to help us with this MSR. He is here today. He's available to answer any questions that the commission may have. I'm also pleased to say that with us today, as well as Paul Fuchelin, the Assistant General Manager of Solano Irrigation District, and Bob Holmes, the Senior Real Property and Project Manager for Solano Irrigation District. Christina did the heavy lifting on this project. She was the project manager, and I believe has done an outstanding job. And I'm going to turn it over to Christina right now for the presentation.
Thank you. It's on. So I do want to actually first give major thanks to Gary. He is the one who did all of the archival research and digging around for the information, worked closely with SID and getting all the background information and creating the bones of this project. SID, water in California is a rather touchy and complicated subject. So having Gary formulate just kind of the basic outline of this was massively important and a huge, thankful help to us. So as a quick update, we'll start with the district profile. Well, briefly, the municipal service review, as everyone may remember, is part of the LAFCO mandated task for reviewing and updating spheres of influences. The municipal service review is that foundational document that brings the information together, looks at the history of the agency, the current operations of the agency, and helps us to be able to try to our best of our ability predict how the agency can continue to move forward, and also helps to support and inform a sphere of influence. So this is that first part that feeds into the separate action, but the more important action of the sphere of influence. So for Solano Irrigation District, they were formed in 1948 as an irrigation district, largely in part and because of the Monticello Dam and the Solano project. They were formed under the Water Code as an independent special district. They currently have 5-member elected board of directors. They gross 74,000, roughly 200 acres, so they're massively large. We do have maps in the audience. And we'll have them up on the screen as well in a few moments, that shows where their district is and also shows what the place of use is, which we'll get into in just a moment. That's a very important key term. They overlap with some of the cities as well because they do have contracts to provide water for cities in addition to providing irrigation water for the unincorporated areas. 80% of their water goes to unincorporated for the irrigation purposes, for ag support. They are predominantly ag lands, both in function as well as in form, with some rural residential and commercial areas as well in the unincorporated areas. Their total population of what's actually inside their district is 55,000. So pretty small compared to the 74,000 acres that they actually are in their district that they serve. Speaks to majority of it is ag. The map you have in front of you is one of the maps that we do also have out in the audience. There is a hashed part that's a little bit darker area. That's the actual district. That is what is inside the jurisdictional boundaries that they provide water services to. The blue area, which is most of Solano County, is called the place of use. That is the area that is the Solano Project water, or the Lake Berryessa, is federally restricted from being used only in that place of use area. So they have some limitations to where they can use Solano Project water, but they also have other sources. They have well water, they have recaptured water that it extends and allows them to provide services in other areas outside of the place of use. But the place of use is, majority of their water is the Solano Project water. Services provided. Under the Water Code, there is a plethora of options that they have, but the ones that they have as active uses, they do agricultural water supply services and delivery, municipal and industrial water, or M&I services. Those are smaller 19 service areas that are the rural residential areas that they have separate water systems for residential purposes. They have potable water sales to local cities. Those are all done through contracts. They are part of a JPA, the Sassoon Solano Water Authority, which is the JPA for water supply for the city of Sassoon. They have other contracted services where they help out with engineering functions or other administrative services. They work with Rural North Vacaville Water District and the Solano Project operation for the federal project, including the Monticello Dam and the electrical hydroelectric portion of the dam. And they also do all the maintenance for the facilities for the Solano Project. And the little bucket we created, one of the in going through this project, majority of the water, as I said, is Solano Project. 141,000 acre feet a year is Solano Project water. That is, however, just a small portion of the actual Lake Berryessa. And so I tried to oversimplify, as Paul put it, the larger bucket of the Solano Project water to kind of show how it's broken up and how they get a portion of that, but they're also not the only ones that are getting the water from that. So it's not an unlimited supply from Lake Berryessa, just to kind of put that, there is a cap on that. Before you, you have a table. This is inside the Municipal Service Review. This was largely how we looked at their past, present, and potential future projections of how they can operate and provide water services. So on the left-hand side, the larger blue, that is their water supply broken down by source. Primarily, again, the 141,000 acre feet from Solano Project or Lake Berryessa. They do have groundwater wells for 14,000 acre feet. And there is drinking water reuse and recapture, kind of is a combination of miscellaneous items where they can recapture and reuse water. But as you see, majority of it is that Solano Project water. Conversely, on the other side, the largely green portion is the demand by user type. And here you can see most all of it, or more than half clearly, is agricultural irrigation. And that's consistent with majority of their properties are rural area, are the unincorporated areas for agricultural functions. There is a mix of the M&Is, which is the rural residential areas. You have the city contract obligations. They have contracts with City of Fairfield, Vacaville, Sassoon, Vallejo, and I think that was it. For different types or different amounts of water based on individual contracts. And some of those contracts do continue to increase up to 2030, which will eventually affect some of that water use as well. You have the JPA, SISWA, the Sassoon Solano Water Authority, and then any kind of spillage or miscellaneous demand, which is sometimes it typically ends up being a loss, or it can flow downstream and outside of the jurisdiction, and it goes into some of the rural the reclamation districts or also feeds into Main Prairie Water District. So some of that they see as a loss, but helps other downstream districts. 10-year water supply and demand. This spans from 2023 to 2022. Shows water, the water user category. So again, the green portion being predominantly the ag. And it breaks it down into chunks a little bit. But what was important and what we found interesting in this particular graph is it shows you have the red line, which is their total supply entitlement. So that's the Solano Irrigation District, the wells, and any other recapture that they're able to use to a grand total of about 158,000 acre feet per year, pretty consistently. That does not include any carryover. They do have carryover, so if there's any unused Solano project water, they're able to use it the following year, but that gets complicated, and it's explained in the MSR. But this graph showed that there have been in this 10-year time frame, there have been some dry years, and so there have been some times where, as you can see, the water user categories have exceeded that grand total of their entitlement. That's where the carryover was able to come over. So that they had unused water the year before, they were able to have carryover, so they're still able to meet their demands consistently through this 10-year time frame. And it was sufficient enough for us to know that they can continue to do so going forward. For revenue sources, SAD operates as an enterprise fund. So majority of their fees are paying or recouped, or most of their expenses are recouped by user fees and other fees. It's broken down into, they have an operating budget and a non-operating budget. In the operating budget, the operating revenues are generally water sales and service fees, or the actual purchases of the water, as well as contracted services. That's when they're using the contracts with Rural North to do additional services. So they have the revenues from that, and of course the expenses to go with it as well. But then they also have the non-operating. Non-operating comes from the Monticello hydroelectric dams and property taxes. Those are all non-operating, but they're additional revenues, and so they help to supplement the total revenue sources. Financial trends. We have two different graphs here to kind of show the financial trends for a 5-year time frame. Their fiscal year is a calendar year, so that's why you won't see fiscal year 25 because it doesn't end just yet. So this is the most recent fiscal information that we have for the last completed 5 years. And you can see in there, at the top, you have the green portion is the non-operating revenues and expenses. Below it on the blue is the water sales and services. So those are the fees. And then the salmon color, orangey color, is the contract reimbursement revenues. So you can see the contract reimbursement and the water sales, those combined are the operating revenues and expenses. And then you have the total. So last year, for example, in 2024, their total revenues was $31 million, just over $31 million for the entire revenues. However, their expenses were total expenses, both operating and non-operating, were just below that. So in fiscal year, or in 2024, their actual net revenues was $958,000. So combined, they had to be able to have that. They meet all of their expenses and revenues, and everything balances every single year for this 5-year time frame. But that 2024 was also when they updated their fee study. That was just adopted this year. And so predictably going next year, their fees have increased, and so there will be not quite so close of a margin for their revenues and expenses because the fees are going up for the next 5 years. In total, their net position, which is everything altogether, how much they have, whether it also includes any outstanding loans or assets and liabilities. That's the term I'm trying to think of. Their total assets and liabilities. So their net position has consistently and steadily increased so that they're able to constantly cover their assets and liabilities and any other debts that they may have. So that's a summary. It's the MSR. I didn't go into it category by category. There are 7 mandatory factors that we are required to review under CKH for all MSRs. And this is a summary of those. But as far as key findings and determinations, we do find that SID has a relatively stable water source with that 158,000 acre feet of the entitlement water, that again, that doesn't include any potential carryover. And that their 10-year demand has been met, the last 10-year demand, leaving room for some growth with about 3,416 acre feet of water that is unspoken for. The current draft, one concern that we do have that I shared pretty regionally is the current draft of the Bay Delta Plan and whether or not that continues to move forward with 50 or more % of surface water being mandated as untouched. So that is still in current draft. Nothing has been determined. SID is watching it closely, as are we. So that may have an impact, but it's too speculative to really know at this point. So we just have it in there as something to watch. The district is in a very strong financial position. They have been and continue to be with between their policies as well as their practices. And so we're confident that they can continue to meet their short-term obligations and other growth expectations. We have mentioned to the district that they do have some out-of-agency services where they've provided some emergency water supply. Some of those are in their sphere, some of those are not in their sphere. So the next step after the MSR process is done is to come forward with reviewing and updating their sphere of influence. And part of that will include our recommendation to annex those properties that they're providing services so they don't have those out-of-service agency connections. But other than that, we're very confident and pleased with how well they're doing. Key recommendations, as I mentioned, to come back with their sphere of influence requests that they may or may not have, and we'll work with them on that. We are asking them to consider the 2 small water agencies, Rural North Akava Water District and Main Prairie Water District, that both are operating, but kind of by the hairs of their chins. So we have asked them to consider looking at maybe incorporating and annexing those districts to better serve those areas. That would be a future consideration. And then also to continue jointly working with Solano County and Solano Project in watching the Bay Delta Plan and seeing how that moves forward. So the recommendation from staff, this is just an informational item. It's also to present to you the summary of the extensively hard work that the entire team has been working on. This also was to acknowledge and recognize that we do have this out for a 30-day public review period that will close and culminate on January 2nd. That was it. Any questions or comments? We have people here to answer.
Any questions? Yes, Alma.
All right, we're gonna share mics here, so hopefully you can hear me. I have 2 questions, 1 comment. The first comment is an excellent job on the staff report. It was very straightforward for the public to be able to follow what is sometimes very complex material. So just want to shout out excellent work. The first question that I have, which is a little less complicated, is the findings and the recommendations in the staff report were very straightforward. There was one on page 6 of the report. It is, so the recommendation is, this MSR recommends completing updates to the district's agricultural water management plan, exploring opportunities to increase water storage to capture rainfall, runoff, to supplement water sources, et cetera. But what it says is these recommendations should be considered prior to LAFCO making a recommendation on the SID's sphere of influence. So my question is, does that mean it should come back at a future date if it has to expand on the water management piece. It doesn't clarify that it must. So I just wanted to be very clear on language.
So for a sphere of influence and the municipal service review, they are two completely different documents and they're two completely different actions. So in order for us to make a clear determination, even to the point where under CKH, a municipal service review has its own set of mandatory considerations, the 7 factors that you're required to look at. And then the sphere of influence has a set of 5 factors that you're required to look at. There is some overlap, but the sphere is informed by what's in the municipal service review. So yes, our recommendation is that they update their urban water management plan prior to coming to us, or prior to us returning to you to consider a sphere of influence update. That way we can make sure if there's any questions or any issues that we're not aware of at this moment, that it's caught and analyzed in a sphere of influence.
Perfect, thank you. That makes it.
I do also want to be one statement that I forgot to make, and it may have an effect on some of the questions or comments coming forward. This municipal service review does not and did not include analysis of the Sassoon expansion project. It does not include considerations of any of the city's growth. So you have Dixon's growth, you have Sassoon's growth, Vacaville's growth. It does not include those projects.
Perfect segue to my next question. The first factor of the 7 factors is to look at population growth. In the report, the MSR states that by 2030, it's about a 5% population increase. Naming the elephant in the room for Suisun City is the Suisun expansion. And so one of the things for the benefit of the board, the benefit of the public, and anyone who's kind of following that storyline, when would that come back for so the irrigation district has to do their own process for their own analysis to see if there's any question about future population growth, what that means to them. When does that story come back to LAFCO?
So in terms of Solano Irrigation's district, or in that term it would really be SISWA, their ability to provide water, that's done through the city analysis project and through the EIR to determine whether or not there is water supply for that particular project. And then that would then also come back, because that's a city development project, that would come back as a city municipal service review and a city sphere of influence project with the information and supported by SISWA and SID for the water supply specifically. It's a little difficult to answer because right now everything is so speculative that, right now it may require a sphere of influence update for both. Because if SID has to annex it for purposes of supplying water for SISWA, then it may require a sphere of influence update for both the city as well as the district.
Thank you for saying very speculative. At CalAFCO, one of the things that we learned from one of the sessions was any annexation or future annexations, they have to prove ability to be able to service their growth in population, meaning any entity coming in has to be able to prove access to water, for example. So it doesn't necessarily mean that water supply is coming from this agency, but potential conversations that may include this agency would go through at the city level, their process. Depending on any results there, if affected, the irrigation district would come back for their municipal service review expansion here. I just wanted to help members follow the different procedural pieces, because there's a lot of confusion of how each agency works and the journey to be able to answer those questions. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Anything else? Do we have any public speakers? We don't, sir. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? If not, take it back in the hands of the commission. Does anybody want to make a motion to take the recommendation?
I'll make a motion that we take the recommendation. Second.
All right. This was not a public hearing, didn't have a public hearing aspect to it, did it? No? All right. With that, all those in favor of the recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. With that one, then we'll move on to item 10B, legislative update.
Thank you.
Actually, I was about ready to introduce Mala, so if you jump me on that one, go ahead, Mala.
Thank you, Rich. I will give you a brief update on SB 707, which some of you might know is the major change to the Brown Act. The good thing is that it isn't really a major change for LAFCO purposes. The significant changes apply to eligible legislative bodies, and LAFCO is not an eligible legislative body, so there'll be very minimal impacts to LAFCO. Those that are eligible legislative bodies, such as the county and cities with populations of 30,000 or more, and larger special districts will have more requirements that start in July of 2026. For LAFCO, the provisions that start as of January of 2026 are a requirement that you receive a copy of the Brown Act. You have a copy of the Brown Act in your packet, so staff has already accomplished that. There are some updates to the teleconferencing provisions. As you're aware, we don't actually utilize teleconferencing provisions, so while there are some updates and some benefits, we're not at LAFCO probably going to see those implemented. Some of those updates include additional allowances for just cause, which include adding military service into one of the definitions of just cause. As you might be aware of, you can teleconference if your agency allows for it without noticing the location that you are at if you meet certain just cause situations. Illness is a common one that's used for many public officials, or attending a conference on behalf of your local agency. Those are some examples, and now they've added military service and medical emergencies in those examples. The other thing to note, I think, of high level is there were certain amendments to the Brown Act related to social media. The Brown Act had not addressed social media in some time, or ever actually, until more recently. It allowed you to post on issues that are related to your public agency, but it wouldn't allow you to like one of your other officials' posts or engage on another official's post on your public agency. If you had posted on this agenda and said, come to LAFCO and hear all of the great information on this MSR, one of the other commissioners couldn't like the post because then it would be considered a potential Brown Act issue. That provision was set to expire. They have made it permanent, so that is another additional update. Happy to answer any questions, but as I mentioned, most of the significant changes don't apply to LAFCO, although they are there. They may apply to your other bodies that you serve on.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned most of these changes are going to impact cities and counties, but you also, during that comment, said of 30,000 or more. Are you saying that communities less than 30,000 people are not impacted?
So the definition of eligible body is listed on the end of the first page, and so it's a city council with a population of 30,000 or more. In addition, it's a city council of a city located in a county with a population of 600,000 or more. So if Solano County, I believe, does not meet that threshold. So if your city is in Solano County and doesn't have a population of 30,000 or more, it would not be impacted.
So
Those large.
Rio Vista and Dixon wouldn't be impacted.
So some city, at this point, some of those cities, like smaller cities, are not going to be impacted. And smaller counties, for instance, also are not impacted. So we'll see if that changes going forward, but at this point, that's the legislation.
All right. Any other questions? Any public comment cards? With that, it's just informational anyway. Anything else for item 10? That was all of it? We're going to now go to correspondence. No, this is where you're reflecting the change in the agenda, the piece of correspondence we got.
Norris comment.
Oh, yes, we have a comment from the public regarding whether California Forever is paying us for the comment letter, and resoundingly no.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 12, executive officer updates.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to preface my remarks in the update by saying, and it's probably applicable for the folks with us today, there is no action being taken for any of the items we discussed in the executive officer report. It's for information and for updating purposes only. So we're requesting no action on the items. So I'm going to be giving you a list of things that we've been working on as LAFCO, and it's been an extraordinarily busy time, and we can see it getting even busier. To start off with, we have 3 projects I'd like to update you on. 3 of them are SID detachment projects. 2 of the 3, actually all 3 were missing property tax exchanges at one point. 2 of the 3 involved with the city of Vacaville, which is the Brighton Landing in the Lagoon Valley number 2, has since, from our understanding, have received a property tax exchange agreement. They've inked one between the city and the county. I do want to point out, though, that it's important to note that these agreements are project-specific, these property tax exchange agreements. For our knowledge, there have been no master agreements yet between the county and the cities. So these are very project-specific for the first 2. The third project, the Campus Lane project, which is a Fairfield project, is incomplete. Has no tax exchange agreement, and in addition, there is a mapping issue with this project. The second, the next group is our city and special district directory. As we mentioned at the last meeting, staff has been working on producing a document that's going to list the contact information, the Formation Act, and other vital information in the board of the special districts that we have purview over in Solano County, as well as the cities, the 7 cities. So that it's quite an accomplishment to get this all put together, because it's particularly with the reclamation districts and things like that, you really have to chase them down to get the information. So a lot of legwork has been in this. So what we're doing now is we're in the information verification stage, and everything is being double checked, and we will be bringing it back to you in February. The notice of preparation and EIR comments, it actually involves 2 different topics. We're currently preparing comments for the Sassoon expansion project, and we are preparing comment letters for the east of Leisurestown developments in Vacaville. The timing of the 2, we're due in December, December 12th for the Solano expansion project, and January 3rd of 2026 for the east of Leisurestown developments in Vacaville. We've also received an application for the Highway 12 logistics annexation project from Buzz Oates with the city of Sassoon. We're currently going through that. We know right now that it's incomplete for at least no tax exchange agreement, but we're carefully combing through the application now and trying to identify any other issues that we may have. And then we'll get back with the city and Buzz Oates on that. So we are working on several municipal service reviews, and we're actually working on them within our own staff internally, as well as some of the cities are hiring consultants to do their MSRs and then bring it to us for review and adoption. So what we're doing internally for preparing the MSRs is right now we're working on the Main Prairie Irrigation District. You heard obviously today the work that's been done on Solano Irrigation District, and we're also working on the cemetery districts all concurrently. For the cities, we're working with Sassoon City and their MSR consultants, Plan West. We've seen a rough draft from Plan West, and we have sent comments to Plan West and shared them with the city, and we're awaiting a revised draft. In addition, it was kind of announced down at Cal LAFCO, Sassoon City has hired RSG consultants to prepare their expansion project, MSR. And RSG Consultants is a group out of San Diego. They're actually national, but their California roots are in San Diego. We're also in regular contact with the cities, with Dixon and their MSR consultant, AP Triton. We talk with them. Fairfield and their consultants, Economic Planning Systems, and with Vacaville and their consultants as Economic Development Systems as well. The same team, actually, that's working on the Fairfield. So with that's the update on some of the projects that are going on internally for us and what's going on in the world of LAFCO and Solano County. It's just a very busy time, and I just would like to point out that staff has done a lot of work in the year 2025, and I'm proud to be the executive officer.
With that, let me ask the commissioners, is there any comments? We do, we have 2 comments. Let me go through the commissioners first. Any comments from the commissioners? Public comment?
The first card is Richard Sinkoff.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, good morning, Chair Vasquez and Executive Director, LAFCO staff. My name is Richard Sinkoff, and I'm a resident of San Francisco, but I used to work on projects here in Solano County. I fell in love with the county, and driving up today, I always take the back route through the Sassoon Marsh area, and I'm always amazed at how beautiful the rangelands are here and the green hills, and it's really a very special county. I often feel that it's kind of the Bay Area's undiscovered secret, because it's, it still has that beautiful blend of agricultural lands and compact cities and marshlands and the beautiful hills. So I understand that the LAFCO is preparing comments on the Sassoon City Expansion Project, and that these comments are due on Friday. I'd like to urge the LAFCO to submit detailed scoping comments to ensure that the draft EIR thoroughly examine the project-specific impacts, but also, very importantly, growth-inducing impacts and what are called induced impacts. When I read the scoping notice for the EIR, it said that, this was a very jarring thing that I read, it said that the project itself, the Sassoon Expansion Project, positions Solano County at the center of the Bay Area Sacramento mega region. And this startled me because what they're really talking about is continuous urban development pretty much from the southern end of Santa Clara Valley, the Coyote Valley, all the way up to the foothills. And we really have to think long-term, is this the kind of region that we want? Do we want a continuous belt of urban sprawl that would be, hundreds of miles long? Solano County right now plays a very important function in providing a buffer, a green belt buffer, and preserving ag lands, natural lands, open space that really ensures the quality of life for everyone who lives here. So within your mandate, I urge you to submit comments that request that the EIR study these cumulative impacts to public services, including water supply, wastewater treatment, solid waste, and also water storage and landfill capacity. And please ask that the EIR study the big picture effects of urban growth and urban sprawl within the context of the county and also within the context of the region.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. What I hope the notice preparation from LAFCO will examine is the compliance of this proposed annexation with the mandatory and discretionary standards required by LAFCO, and also with the preamble to the Knox-Cortese Hirschberg Act. And when I read that, this violates every one of those. Specifically, consistency requires, and this is one of the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, to be consistent with the planning. It involves really compliance with the sphere of influence, with the general plan, specific plan, area-wide plan. None of that is in place yet. It's being really devised on the fly. We are talking about a city which is the size of Minneapolis, Bakersfield, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tampa, Florida, Arlington, Aurora, Colorado, Wichita, Oakland, California, that is proposed to be done with a general plan amendment, not a comprehensive general plan review, a general plan amendment, which is at 22 pages, and virtually all of those 22 pages say, for all of the policy of the 2015 Sassoon General Plan, which envisioned solely infill development, please add the phrase, and the Sassoon expansion to the following policies. It's absurd to have a project of this size without comprehensive planning. Currently, the sphere of influence of Sassoon City goes to about there. We're talking about no sphere of influence currently going out to about there, increasing the size of Sassoon City, increasing the size 9-fold and the population 15-fold with a general plan amendment that you would use on a parking lot. And so the notice of preparation, I'm hoping that the staff for LAFCO will point out the fundamental violations of planning principles that this represents. Usually you have a general plan and then a specific plan, you have tiered environmental review. This is going to rush all of that through in a single night. Apparently the sphere of influence change and zoning and tentative map is all going to be voted on all at once rather than a phased plan that the public could respond to. I'm hoping that'll be in the notice of preparation.
Thank you, Jim.
Fundamental violation of LAFCO principles. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other speakers? With that, that's all. It's all information anyway. So the next meeting, which is February 9th, 2026, and following this adjournment, we adjourn to the
Yes, sir. Next meeting's February 9th in 2026, and we'd like to wish everybody a happy Christmas, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And we have an open house after the meeting.
All right. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.
Very.
How many people do you think are going to show up at the open house?